What drives someone to deface a symbol of honor with spray paint and bravado? On a fog-draped morning in the coastal town of Port Haven, I learned the answer the hard way. My name is Lieutenant Marcus Reed, a Navy officer tasked with commanding a patrol boat safeguarding the harbor. Our vessel, the Sentinel, was more than steel and rivets. It was a testament to duty, a floating guardian of the coastline. But one reckless act would unravel its sanctity and plunge me into a storm of defiance, betrayal, and bitter justice. The Sentinel was docked at Pier 17, its hull gleaming under the dawn's pale light. My crew petty officer Elena Vasquez, Seaman Jamal Carter, and Chief Engineer Liam O'Connell had just finished a grueling night patrol. We were bone-tired, the kind of exhaustion that seeps into your soul after hours battling choppy waves and scanning for smugglers. As we secured the lines, Elena's sharp gasp cut through the quiet. "Lieutenant, look at this!" she called, her voice trembling with disbelief. I jogged to the starboard side, my boots thudding against the deck. There, sprawled across the Sentinel's pristine hull, was a garish display of neon green graffiti. Karen was here in jagged, mocking letters, accompanied by a crude drawing of a middle finger. My stomach churned. This wasn't just vandalism. It was a desecration of everything we stood for. The crew stared, their faces a mix of rage and shock. "Who the hell is Karen?" Jamal muttered, his fists clenched. We reported the incident to the base commander, Captain Nora Hensley, a woman whose steely gaze could make seasoned sailors flinch. She ordered a full investigation, pulling security footage from the pier's cameras. By noon, we had a lead. A grainy video showing a woman in a red hoodie, spray can in hand, defacing the Sentinel under the cover of midnight fog. Her movements were brazen, almost performative, as if she wanted to be seen. Captain Hensley's orders were clear: find her and make her pay. The search led us to Karen Whitaker, a 38-year-old local with a reputation for stirring trouble. Karen wasn't your typical vandal. She owned a small art gallery in town, her walls lined with abstract paintings that screamed rebellion. Rumor had it she'd clashed with the city council over zoning laws, calling them fascist for blocking her gallery's expansion. But tagging a Navy vessel? That was a new level of audacity. I couldn't shake the feeling there was more to her story, a deeper wound fueling her defiance. I confronted Karen at her gallery, the air thick with the scent of turpentine and defiance. She stood behind a counter cluttered with paintbrushes, her blonde hair pulled into a messy bun, her eyes blazing with unapologetic fire. "So, you're the Navy hotshot," she sneered, crossing her arms. "Come to arrest me for my masterpiece? Your masterpiece defaced federal property." I shot back, struggling to keep my voice even. "Why'd you do it, Karen? What's your problem with us?" She laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "You think this is about you? It's about what you represent: control, conformity, a system that crushes people like me. I'm an artist, Lieutenant. I make statements." Her words stung, but I pressed on. "You made your statement, and now you'll face the consequences. Federal court doesn't take kindly to vandalism." Karen's smirk faltered, but only for a moment. "Do your worst," she said, turning away to rearrange a stack of canvases. I left the gallery with a sinking feeling, her defiance gnawing at me. She wasn't just a vandal. She was a puzzle, one I wasn't sure I wanted to solve. The case moved swiftly. The Navy pressed charges, and Karen was summoned to federal court. I expected her to fight tooth and nail, but she surprised us all by pleading guilty. Her lawyer, a wiry man named Ethan Gould, argued she was making a political statement against militarization. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Margaret Voss, wasn't swayed. "Your client's statement cost taxpayers $12,000 to repair," she said, her voice like ice. "And it disrespected those who serve." The gavel fell, and Karen was fined $450,000, a staggering sum meant to deter future stunts. But then came the twist, the moment that turned my world upside down. During the trial, a man in a worn denim jacket slipped into the courtroom, his face lined with grief. He was Daniel Whitaker, Karen's older brother, and he approached me after the verdict. "You don't know the whole story, Lieutenant," he said, his voice low and urgent. "Karen's not just some rebel. She's broken." Daniel revealed a truth that hit like a rogue wave. 2 years ago, Karen's son, Tyler, enlisted in the Navy against her wishes. He was deployed on a destroyer in the Pacific, a bright-eyed 19-year-old with dreams of serving his country. But during a training exercise, a missile misfired, and Tyler was killed in the explosion. The Navy called it a tragic accident, but Karen blamed the system, the same system I represented. Her graffiti wasn't just rebellion. It was a scream of grief, a mother's desperate attempt to lash out at the institution that took her son. I sat in my car outside the courthouse, Daniel's words echoing in my head. The Sentinel's defaced hull flashed in my mind, but now I saw it differently, not as an act of malice, but as a wound laid bare. I thought of my own crew, of Elena's quiet strength, Jamal's infectious optimism, Liam's steady hand. What if one of them had been Tyler? What if I'd lost someone to a fluke accident? Would I have the strength to carry on? Or would I, too, pick up a spray can and rage against the world? I tracked Karen down a week later, this time at a quiet cafe on the edge of town. She looked different, smaller, somehow her bravado replaced by exhaustion. The fine had crippled her financially. Her gallery was on the brink of foreclosure. I wanted to hate her, to see her as the villain who'd defaced my ship. But all I saw was a woman drowning in loss. "I'm sorry about Tyler," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't know." Her eyes met mine, and for the first time I saw vulnerability. "Nobody does," she said. "I didn't want to hurt you or your crew. I needed someone to hear me." We sat in silence, the weight of her words settling between us. I wanted to tell her I understood, that grief could twist anyone into someone they're not. But words felt hollow. Instead, I paid for her coffee and left, the bitterness of the moment clinging to me like salt on my skin. Back on the Sentinel, the crew worked to repaint the hull, erasing Karen's message stroke by stroke. But I couldn't erase the truth Daniel had shared, or the ache it left behind. Karen's fine was a victory for justice, but it felt like a hollow one. She'd lost her son, her livelihood, her voice. The system she'd raged against had crushed her, just as she'd feared. As the sun set over Port Haven, I stood on the Sentinel's deck, watching the waves lap against the pier. The harbor was calm, but my heart was not. Karen's graffiti was gone, but its shadow lingered, a reminder that even in our victories, there are losses we cannot undo. Duty demanded I move on, but humanity begged me to remember. And so I did. ND.